Good morning and vanakkam. In this video, we're going to be reading from Dancing with Shiva, Hinduism's contemporary catechism, written by Sadhguru Sivaya Subramania Swami, a richly illustrated sourcebook of Indian spirituality in question and answer form, exploring how to know the divine, honor all creation, and see God everywhere in everyone. Today's lesson is lesson 113, and we'll begin by reading the caption to the facing image. Lord Shiva sits in the deepest Akashic world as devotees approach with prayers, petitions, and queries written on ancient palm leaves called ole in Tamil. Shiva offers benedictions through two hands, blessings that accord with their karmas. Lesson 113, how do our prayers reach the gods? Shloka 113. Through temple worship, the three worlds become open to one another, and the beings within them are able to communicate. By means of the mystical arts of puja, the worlds act in concert and prayers are received. Om. Bhashya. The three worlds are connected when puja is performed and worship is begun. There are certain rites that can be performed to enable individuals to communicate directly with beings in the inner worlds. Prayers are given and received in many ways. Among the most intimate personal forms of communication is the written prayer to the devas or to God. Burned in Agni's sacred fire, it disintegrates in the physical world and quickly reforms in the astral world. When a prayer is burned in a temple wherein this practice is consecrated, its astral image is received and read by the devas and properly dispatched and answered within the confines of our karmic pattern. Prayers may also be conveyed by slowly, mentally enunciating the words, visualizing them rising up the spine, through the top of the head, reaching beyond to the feet of God. The devas will not intervene unless asked. This is the inner law. The Vedas avow, he shines forth at dawn like the sunlight, deploying the sacrifice in the manner of priests unfolding their prayerful thoughts. Agni, the god who knows well all the generations, visits the gods as a messenger most efficacious. Om Namah Shivaya. Good morning and vanakkam. In this video, we're going to be reading from Living with Shiva, Hinduism's contemporary culture, written by Sadhguru Sivaya Subramania Swami. 365 daily lessons based on ancient Vedic laws, disclosing how to approach family, money, relationships, technology, food, worship, yoga, and karma to live a truly spiritual life. Today's lesson is lesson 113, and the topic is living in spirit. Stress is a consequence of the technological age, and these days everybody is talking about stress. Stress and strains of a fast-paced and demanding modern age affect every organ of the body. A calm mind, a peaceful mind, is needed to encompass changing times. Times are changing very rapidly. To cope with these changes, we have to rely on ourselves to keep a balance of physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual life. Our religion has ways to combat stress and the diseases it causes, ways to avoid the mental anguish which this fast-paced world brings about. These pressures did not exist in the agricultural age. Things were more relaxed then. All we had to do was plant our crops and wait for the harvest. Plant and wait, and in between there was plenty of time for religious activities. But life in the technological age is a life of constant work, constant activity all of the time. So we tend to set religion aside just when we need it the most. We have to rely on our religion to keep balance in our life. It is a proven fact that religious people can cope with stress and strain better than non-religious people. The answer to stress is not to take a pill to be able to relax. The answer is not to give up the temple, not to give up the culture, not to give up the scriptures which put everything into perspective, not to give up the art of meditation and the practices of yoga. Spiritual things you must understand with your heart, with your feeling. Feeling and thinking working together give you that deep understanding that you need to cognize the wisdom of the spirit. All you can do in living your life every day is to make today just a little bit better than yesterday was. You will then have confidence in yourself so that tomorrow will be alright too, and you won't fear the tomorrows. Why? Because in striving to make today the perfect day of your lifetime, you bring through your spirit. You allow the spirit God to permeate through all layers of your mind. At our sunrise pilgrimage this morning to the top of Mount Tamalpayas, we had over 30 devotees. It was a beautiful, inspiring time. Let me explain to you just a little bit what we were researching together on the mountaintop. Your thoughts sometimes literally flood your body or flow through your body. Sometimes you find your thoughts spinning and jumping from here to there. You don't know where they came from, and they confuse you as they flow through your body or your brain. Just as thought can flow through the body, so can spirit or God flow through the intuitive, the intellectual, and the instinctive mind. When your thoughts flow through the body, your body becomes either dejected and heavy or light and happy depending upon the nature of your thinking. Affirmations can help you to improve the patterns of your thought and feeling. You have to repeat certain affirmations for certain lengths of time to produce a certain result. Every word and the meaning of each word, if you know the meaning, has a certain vibration. As the thought goes into motion, it permeates your nervous system and gives you a particular feeling. Just as your thoughts and your words can make your body feel a certain way, in the very same way the spirit or God flowing through the mind can illumine and does illumine the mind and purify it. In facing your past, if your past is not exactly what you would like to look at, and you look at it and still react to it, you will create today as a day much worse than yesterday. You will not be living the spiritual life. But if you seek first the spirit within you each day and make the day a little bit better than yesterday, you flood the spiritual being of you, the real you, through the mind, and you wipe away and clarify much of the past and bring much understanding through your mind. What is responsible for negative reactions of the subconscious mind? Simply the transgressions that you have caused against the natural laws of the mind, that's all. If you transgress the laws of the physical body, eat the wrong things, behave in the wrong way, your physical body will suffer because of it. If you transgress the natural laws of the mind, hurt another instead of help another, discourage instead of encourage another person, then your mind will suffer. A part of the mind goes out of control, and that is called being emotional. The emotions are a part of the mind out of control. They gain a momentum of their own and eventually take over the entire mind. But when the will of the spirit comes up and controls the emotional nature, the emotions subside for a period of time until they gain momentum again. This goes on sometimes all through life. Sutra 113 of the Nandinada Sutras. Keeping wedding costs reasonable. Weddings are spiritual events among Shiva's followers. Ceremonies must never burden the families financially, and while the bride may bring wealth to the marriage, families are forbidden to demand or pay dowries. Om. Good morning and vanakkam. In this video, we'll be reading from Merging with Shiva, Hinduism's Contemporary Metaphysics, written by Sadguru Sivaya Subramania Swami. 365 enlightenment lessons from a mystical master, revealing the depths of Raja Yoga, the clear white light, the states of mind, and the ultimate spiritual destiny of every seeker. Today's lesson is lesson 113, and the topic is you only have a minute. You have only just a minute, only 60 seconds in it. Didn't want it, forced upon you, can't refuse it. Didn't seek it, didn't choose it. It is up to you to use it. You must suffer if you lose it, give account if you abuse it. Just a tiny little minute, but eternity is in it. For not to love is not to live, and not to give is not to live. There's really very little to be said intellectually about the eternal now. You have to live in it, and in living in it, you discover a higher state of consciousness than you have experienced in your life. Because the vibration of the eternal now is so very high, part of your mind and nature does not like to experience the security of the eternal now, which is really the height of security. It takes practice to maintain a continued experience of the eternal now. Can you visualize yourself right at this instant, balanced on the top of a tall tree? If the tree were to bend too far forward, you would fall to the ground, or down into time and thought. If it were to bend too far back, you would again fall. Balanced on the top of this tree, you can look out over the countryside and enjoy everything you see. But if you stop to think about one thing of the past, you would become so engrossed in what you are thinking about that you would again fall to the ground. You find that you cannot live in a thinking consciousness balanced so high. Here you live in the eternal now, with great awareness of what is around you and within you, but with no thought on it. Can you feel like this? Right now you are here. Right now nothing else matters. You are aware. You are alive and you are in eternity. Finding the eternal now is a vibration even more powerful than that of sound or light, for you are in the consciousness of being intensely aware, being very alive. In that state of consciousness, you can see that when you begin to think, it is like climbing down the tree and walking along through the forest. On the ground, you cannot see the forest for the trees. On top of the tree, you can see the entire forest and enjoy it. In the eternal now, you find awareness in every part of your body, every fiber of your consciousness. Your life depends upon your awareness. Here you can enjoy seeing the birds fly by, the waterfall, the countryside. You can enjoy all that, but you dare not stop to think upon the flight of one bird, because you would become too engrossed in thought and fall into a lower state of consciousness. That bird might remind you of a pet bird you had at home, and the thinking mind would go on and on, landing you on the ground. When you become aware and start living in eternity, in the eternal now, you find that eternity is within you. Then you can see there is no life, nor is there any death. You have transcended even the laws of reincarnation in that state, holding the consciousness of eternity, for you are beyond the soul which reincarnates and creates a new form around itself. And that's it for today's lesson. Take care of yourself, have a beautiful day, and we'll see you in the next video. Om Namah Shivaya.